Hi. As you recall, last time we were here, we kind of worked on Lydia's eyes. I got the right one done in the first segment, and the left one done in the second segment. Today we're going to concentrate on doing her nose. Kind of started at the top of the nose and we divided towards the bridge. And the real trick of this is there's so many subtleties as far as color and shade and just many departure areas, and you have to really capture them. So what I have here is the same color sequence I used last week: titanium white, tone, flesh pink. Just mix it all up. There's like 4 or 5 different blends. I don't use anything straight out of a tube because I find it's ridiculous. I'd rather have all sorts of assortments blended. So here we go. We're going to actually go down the bridge of the nose, work it down. I have a lot of it pre-made. I'm going to bring it down to this area. I'm working off the photograph which I took. I also have Lydia come to the house every now and then. I double check the way the painting's going. So I use both a photograph and a live model in the course of painting the subject. The live model helps me with tone and little flashes of color now and then. The photograph actually keeps the pose in order. Anyway, so here we go. I'm going to bring it down. This part of the nose, the color is all pretty much the same. No changes at all. I'm going to put that in now. I'm going to work as we go along. As we see changes, we'll bring them in. This entire area is pretty much the same color. So I'm going to bring it down and pretty much have the same type of color. The tip of the nose is where we'll see a little bit of difference. You have to be very careful when you do a model because after all, it's really the heart of a face. And if you make a little bit of a problem, if you go it the wrong way, if you accent just the wrong way, you'll offend somebody and that'll be the end of your career. I have a habit of making sure the face is very well addressed to nicely. I never make light of it. I took about at least 20 to 30 photographs of this girl before I settled on this pose. And I kind of like this pose. It has many attributes which really capture Lydia. And like I said, I don't like going with just one photographer. The spontaneity of any photograph is not quite enough. With her, I chose many different looks to capture just the right feel. Okay, so I have basically the same tone all the way through that area. In fact, it goes all the way down here. I'm going to keep that tone all the way through here. Bring it down further, a little bit darker on this area. So I'm going to take a little bit of burnt umber, mix it in with the flesh tone. And go there. When we get to the point where there's a couple flashes of light on the upper part of the nostril, we'll do that then. There's no sense in putting in too soon. Even the nostril, I'm not going to address to the last minute. I'm always telling people to be careful and not think there's many lines in a face. There are actually very few lines in a face, real lines. The eyes are a line, the mouth is a line, the nostrils are lines. And most people seem to paint faces as a series of lines. They put sides of the nose as serious lines. The only time you really have that situation come up is when you have an angle, like I chose to use here for Lydia. That is an honest line because the angle I chose. If you're looking at a nose face forward, you don't have that problem. It's really a question of shadows. So I tend to like to use a photograph of somebody at like a 75-degree angle. Just for one thing, it's more charming. You could have a little fun with some of the angles. You could actually play up some of the smudging as opposed to it being very direct and inconclusive. This works out better. Now, we're going to work in this area now. It really is pretty much the same color. We're going to bring it up and gradually it's going to get lighter. If you notice, I used a little bit more water in parts of this. And I'm going to blend it in just manually. I'll actually twirl and twirl and twirl till it just diffuses into one. Now, we're going to bring this up to the higher part of the nose, almost the bridge. We'll put a little light in there. Put a little tan, a little more white. And let's see what happens. It's almost orangey, and I don't think that's what I want. So I'm going to put a little bit more burnt umber in there, a little bit more raw umber. What that makes is kind of a brownish tone, which might be more suited. Might put a little bit more flesh tone in there. Let's see. That's better. It actually suits the coloring I see in the photograph. We're going to blend it again just to make it come into one. Now we're going to bring this up till it approaches the other colors, and we're going to blend that into one. Higher and higher we go. The two are going to meet eventually. As you can see, we are approaching that line which we put in before. It's going to be a little bit lighter in this area. Later on, when it's dried a bit, I could actually add accent points, be it dark or light. Right now, I'm only interested in basic tonalities. And it's really subtle. There's nothing really harsh or linear at this point. It's all subtlety. Add a little bit more water. Tends to. One thing about acrylics, they tend to dry out quickly. So it's always a good idea to keep them moist. Unlike oil, which tends to be resilient for a long time. Now, I like oil for many purposes, but I find that when I do any subject matter that's feminine, acrylic lends itself better. Just lighter, and the color tends to be more resplendent. I get a better result. Okay. Now, the bridge of the nose is a little bit darker. We're going to actually put a little bit of raw umber with a little bit of tan, and we're going to see what happens. I want this bridge to be a little bit dark, but not overly dark, so we're going to see what happens. Good. I might actually add a little bit of Payne's Gray, which is unusual. Just a little. The Payne's Gray, if used correctly, will not be too dark, and if you put it in conjunction with some of the skin coloring, it actually just becomes a darker skin color. It won't turn black. And remember, Payne's gray is just gray. It's a very dark gray, and I use it instead of black. I think black is a very bad choice of colors because it really takes over everything. Payne's gray is a lot more user-friendly. Okay, let's go into this area. Bring it in. I think I want a little bit more skin color in there. Let's see what happens. It might be better. Yep. I'm going to bring this in and blend it one last time so the two meet. And you have the entire bridge of the nose in unison. Now, like I said, eventually, when this dries, and acrylics dry rather quickly, I'm going to redo parts of it. The great thing about acrylic, it dries quickly and it almost welcomes change. You can always add tonality to it. A lot of people have a tough time with acrylics for that nature. It dries quickly, and a lot of people can't blend it and do skin tone. I myself like that nature. That's coming out pretty good. Let's bring this out to the very center of the nose. Now this center has a shine. What we're going to do, draw everything around it first. Have these two meet. Not bad. We're going to draw everything around that. And if you notice, there's a little shine here and a little shine here. What we're going to do is do the dark first. You have to make more of this up. It's better to not have it ready immediately, but make it up, make it fresh. It suits you to make it fresh every time because you don't tend to use stale coloring. It might not be exactly what you had in mind. This way I can address the situation at hand. I have all the basic colors here in my palette, so I'm not going to stray too much. Good. All right, so we're going to do all the darks now. The only true dark areas in a face, any person's face, are the nostrils, the pupil of the eye. And I really don't like when people overly darken a face. It could be very dramatic, and in some cases it makes a difference. But for the most part, I don't think it's a good idea. Okay, we're going to go around this little bobbin of a nose. Probably make it more round and more projected than it really is. Later on, we're going to make amendments to it. Here we go. I'm always referring to the photograph. And like I said, it's better to have something to refer to. Sometimes a model is great to have in a studio, but unfortunately, models tend to get impatient. They tend to move. They tend not to want to get back in the same pose. It's very hard to really keep it consistent. A photograph, however, stays in your hand, tends to be consistent. You always can refer to it. So I really prefer the luxury of having both the model on occasion and the photograph. And I paint very slowly. So by the time I started painting, by the time I finished it, I would not want the model to change in age, or change her hairstyle, or change her makeup. And that could be a problem. This turned out to be pretty good. Like I said, I took about 20 photographs of Lydia, and this is the one I really picked. She liked it. Even her mother said it was okay. So when you have a consensus like that, you can't go wrong. Okay, the interior of this little round nose is more flesh tone, a little bit of brown, so we're going to put that in. We're going to dress that in now. I'm going to blend these colors together. We're going to bring this in further. Blend them better. Bring these colors all the way through. Here we go. There's going to be a little light sequence right here. A little bit too much water there, but it won't really matter in the long run. Blend it, blend it, blend it. Now, there is a bit of a dark edge right here. I kind of addressed that already. And there's a bit of a glimmer. Right there. The nostril, and actually on the right side of the face, the nostril is very, very subtle. So your best bet is just to lightly hint at it. Which is what I'm going to do. And basically just put a little tonality on that side. Let's get a little more moisture here. Okay, we're doing rather well here. The roundness here is going to work out nicely when we put a little shine right here. But first, let's finish the area right here. You notice I don't have a really brush with lots of paint on it. It's almost semi-dry. The reason for that is I don't like having a lot of paint on the brush. I'd rather blend it right there on the surface. It's easier to make this work if you don't have a lot of extra paint to play around with. That could be awkward. And what I'm doing now is it's almost like I'm blending in the color by hand. Now I'm going to show you something else. Let's say we got this going. You have a little darkness on the bridge of the nose here. We're going to make that darker right here. I'm going to do the nasal area. Let's make this just a tad darker. I'm going to make this a little pinkish. the nostril is going to be really dark. Like I said, probably the only really dark line in the whole face other than the mouth and the eyes. Now all this looks rather dark. We could put nice light highlights in 1 second. You'll see a big difference, a marked difference. Here we go. Let me show you what the difference is going to be when I actually put white highlights in. I'm going to blend it in. The top, it's going to really come close to here. The light is going to be just a little bit of glimmer in certain parts. There we go. Let's get the rest of the part right here. Bring it around. Bring the rest of the nasal area around. Okay, we bring the top here. Bring this up a bit. Gonna make more paint up. And bring this around. Later on, I'll probably do more flesh tone on that side of the face. This area is going to be really super dark. Let me give you an idea of what that'll do. If you put a little dark there, and that part is very shadowy, it actually drops. It makes the whole face really drop. And it really makes this nose have substance. See the difference already? The shadow corresponds with the eye. Makes the nose just pop right out. Okay, let's do the nostril on this side. I'm going to use a very dark Payne's Gray for that nostril. Same thing's going to happen. Going to make the whole area pop out. And make it wetter. Now, very good. Let's put in the rest of the flesh tone in the face, the nose. Connect these. Connect the rest of the nose. Really darken up the top part of the nose, right here. It's more of a round area, so let's do that. Basically, all I've done is put tonalities of skin. Later on, when we're done addressing that, we could actually put in some lines. I think I did put the nostrils in, which helps a little. The bottom of this cleft here, you can always address with a little bit of dark flesh tone. And that's what we'll do right now. Let's make it a tad darker. A little bit darker. All right. Now the trick is to blend these a bit so you can't see where one begins and one ends. Trick also was to put a little bit of flesh tone in this area so that doesn't look so gosh horrible. So we're going to blend all these together, blend all that together. We're going to put a little bit more flesh. Okay, we're going to put a little bit more flesh in this area. And just to put a little highlight of light. I actually could just leave it the way it is. And just a tad more in here. There's a little bit of light here. There's a little bit of light here. Anyway, we pretty much got a lot of the nose in order. The only thing that's going to be left to do is like some of the highlighting, some of the just a little bit more fine tuning for this, and that'll be it. I'm going to finish the bottom cliff, and that's it. All right. I think it's beginning to come out real good. Again, for the most part, for the nose, we've got a lot of the flesh tones in. From this point, I could actually do some more of the finer tuning to it. But the real key to any type of painting is to get the flesh tones in. From that point, you can do pretty much anything you want with the fine tuning. If you don't have the flesh tone right, it's going to be very hard to do the fine tuning. And I'm pretty happy with the way the nose turned out. I think I want to, next time we actually work on this, I want to spend a little bit of time on the lips, and you'll see how difficult that could be. The lips are total, I find the lips to be very much fun, but a lot of people have, it's staggering to them to do lips. I like doing lips. Hair is going to be something that's going to be fun too. I'd love to be able to show you a little bit about hair. That is, I have a style all to my own when it comes to doing hair. So hopefully I'll be able to show you a little bit about that too in future programs. Right now I'm pretty happy with the way the nose turned out and the way it actually goes with the eyes. It does actually, the colors match very nicely. I really think it's beginning to shape up rather nicely. Thank you.